talk about this shit. We have to talk about this shit. I didn't want to talk about this shit. I actually wanted to skip this video, skip this review, but nah, we gotta talk about it because there's some shit that happened in episode 4. Yada yada yada, spoiler, episode 4, season 8 of Game of Thrones. If you haven't seen it, goodbye, and I'm here to talk about spoilers because holy shit, I was upset, I was distraught, I was frustrated, I was excited. Like, this episode was the most Game of Thrones episode that I've seen in a very long time. Start off the episode and you're immediately in your feels because they're saying goodbye to all the people that died. So Jorah, Eddie, Melisandre, well actually no, nobody said goodbye to Melisandre. No one even knew that she died. Only Davos, and let's be honest, nobody's really going to miss Melisandre. Jorah and Eddie and Beric and Theon. This opening moment of Game of Thrones, this opening scene was meant to showcase how much we're going to miss some of these characters, and it was meant to show our characters mourning their losses. Like, it felt like one of those episodes where, okay, well, the Battle of Winterfell happened, and now we need to come down, we need to pull ourselves together. It kind of felt like the lick our wounds section of the show, and for the first 10 to 15 to 20 minutes, that's what it was. It was sad as shit seeing Sansa put that pin on Theon's body before he got burned away. Just reminds you that she probably is really upset that she and him didn't get to scissor before he died. Then we transition to like a quiet feast type of thing where it feels like a funeral. Then Gendry gets up because he wants to go fuck Arya. Dany stops him and she's like, look, now you're Gendry Baratheon. I'm going to make you the Lord of Stone End. Gendry's never been a lord, so of course he doesn't know what to do, and everybody in there starts toasting to him, and then all of a sudden it turns into a party. The next like 20 minutes or so of the episode is pretty much all about partying, and let's be honest, this makes sense because these characters had a brush with death last week. Literal death, okay? A lot of them almost died. A lot of them did die. Anytime you go up against the army of the dead, the Night King and the White Walkers, and you live to talk about it, it's like Jaime said, if now isn't the time to get drunk, when is? Like, this is the time where you let your hair down, you go fuck whoever you want to fuck, you get drunk as hell, you have fun, you rejoice the fact that you are still among the living. There are a couple of notable moments during the party scenes in Winterfell that I did like. One in particular was really funny, where Tormund walks up on Jaime and Brienne and Pod and Tyrion, and they're all having their drinking game. Tyrion guesses correctly that Brienne has never had sex with a man, so she gets up to leave, and Tormund is thinking, okay, this is my shot, I finally get a chance with the big woman. Next thing you know, she leaves, and then this gives Jaime the excuse to go after her, and you know that she and Jaime are going to start clapping. I mean, it's what it's been building towards. The look on Tormund's face was, oh my god, it was so heartbreaking. I felt for the guy. He looked like somebody had stolen his giant milk titty away from him. Another thing that stood out about this scene was the look on Dany's face when she saw how people were treating Jon. Regardless of the fact that she is the Dragon Queen and that without her and her armies and her dragons, they wouldn't have won this battle. Like the fact that she does a good thing for Gendry, she names him a lord and people are happy about it, and it's a way to build trust with a future ally and all that stuff. Like, it's really smart what she does. It doesn't really compare to the way that people still talk and revere Jon. Like, Jon is a war hero. He's a guy that always inspires faith among men. He makes people want to follow him. He makes people want to believe in him. This whole time, Dany realizes, like, no matter what I do, that's not going to be me. I'm never going to have that much love, especially here in the North. When we talk about that Starbucks, it's been going around the internet. I'm sure you've seen it. There was an actual, literal Starbucks cup in the episode on the table next to Dany. I'm not sure what kind of flavor it was. Maybe it was pumpkin spice latte or something like that. All the same, the question remains, how did this happen? Like, how do you let something like this happen? Is it a huge deal? I mean, I guess not, but I'm just saying, it's just so lazy. Why is there a Starbucks cup here? Like, how does this get through post-production? Did nobody watch the episode before it aired? It just makes me have a whole bunch of other questions. Like, if there's a Starbucks, does that mean there's screwdrivers? Does that mean there's internet access? Does that mean there's a Verizon Wireless or a T-Mobile somewhere out there in Westeros? If people can't afford whores, can they afford porn? See what I'm saying? This can of worms would never have been opened if that Starbucks cup had been taken care of and disposed of beforehand. But no. It's just, we have to have that there so that we can create more memes on the internet for people who think the writing for the show has gone to shit. The rest of the scenes that happen after the party shit, it kind of transitions into the plans for Dany and for the rest of the people in Winterfell and what they're going to do going up against Cersei, because Cersei is waiting. Cersei is still on the Iron Throne, and we have to find a way to rip her out root and stem, as Dany says. Between all of this happening, there was another great scene where Bronn somehow sneaks into Winterfell and he holds Tyrion and Jaime at crossbow. And this is why I connect the most with Bronn. Like, it doesn't matter what the situation is, Bronn is Bronn. No matter what happens, no matter who does what, Bronn is going to look out for Bronn. In that sense, Bronn is my spirit animal. I love the fact that Bronn represents my best interest if I were on a show like this. I came here, I had a deal from the queen bitch to kill both of you, but I'm trying to see if you guys have a better deal. And in return, Tyrion has to offer him Highgarden in order to save their lives. You can't help but wonder, though, what if Cersei had sent somebody that has, like, no past ties to Jaime or Tyrion. Like, Bronn has spent so much time with them, he's gotten to know them. You can tell that there's some type of a relationship there. Imagine if Cersei had just sent somebody else to come kill them. I mean, holy shit. I mean, that's it, right? They're dead. They die in this episode, and then we move on, and then it probably changes a lot of things. This is where the episode started delving into some of the original Game of Thrones machinations that I loved. And I know a lot of people are upset because last week's episode was anticlimactic. There are some people that feel like it was building to this the whole time, and then they ended it in one episode, and it's the way that they ended it, like it was a big letdown, and they made bad decisions and stuff like that. They ruined all the buildup. Yeah, I get that. Totally understand that. I feel your pain. In fact, I was disappointed by some things in the finale. I said that in my review last week. For me personally, Game of Thrones was never about that. It was never about the battle against the army of the dead. It was never about the Night King. For me, the thing I love the most about Game of Thrones is the political maneuvering, the backstabbing, the dialogue, the characters, the struggle over power, the struggle for the Iron Throne. All of the inner politics and the scheming and the plotting and the planning and the revenge, like all of that stuff is why I fell in love with Game of Thrones in the first place. I mean, it pretty much felt like Lord of the Rings, except it's like a medieval political thriller, and that's why I loved it. For me, the fact that they're going back to focusing on that aspect of the show in the last 3 episodes, I can't help but be happy about that, because for the last few seasons, we've pretty much just been heading towards a straight line. Like, it's pretty much been us against the dead, and that's very straightforward. But now we're getting to the part of the season where decisions have to be made, lines have to be crossed, characters have to betray one another potentially. I'm perfectly okay with these last 3 episodes focusing on the fight for the throne, because that's what Game of Thrones is. It's Game of Thrones, not Game of Dead People. They decide the best approach is to take their armies, march to King's Landing, and to block off the whole city. Meanwhile, Dany and her dragons are going to approach from Dragonstone. Sansa actually has a very reasonable suggestion here. She's like, look, our men are tired, our men are wounded, our men are hungry. We need to tend to them, make sure that they can recuperate. I mean, they're not going to win a war that they're not capable of fighting. Dany, of course, is like, nah, I'm not with that, bro. I'm not with that. And so, no, we're just gonna go. And some of the decisions that Dany made in this episode, I'm not gonna lie, it did. It made shit worse. Dany's decision to not listen to Sansa, to hold back, maybe take a more tactical approach, like where they starve King's Landing. They make sure that Cersei and her people and her troops don't have food, don't have resources coming in. And then when the people are ready to overthrow Cersei, you've been tending to your men and your people this entire time, and then you march in with your dragons and you basically wipe everybody out. Problem solved. She decides not to listen to Sansa. She decides to go ahead with this war effort. She goes to Dragonstone to plan things. She doesn't take into account the Iron Fleet, although in fairness, who could have? Next thing you know, Rhaegal is dead, another dragon dead, and now she just has Drogo. When those things came out and they started shooting things at her, I don't understand the decision to fly directly at them and then just fly off and leave your people to struggle in those boats. If anything, I would have just flown in a big ass circle around those things and I would have tried to attack them from behind. There you go. You wipe out Euron, you wipe out some of his fleet, problem solved, and Missandei doesn't get taken. Likewise, Jon is put in a pretty tough spot here because Jon and Dany still love each other, like they still want to be together. For Jon, it's still weird. It still feels weird that he's kissing his auntie, and Dany is just like, look, we can still make this work, but you have to promise not to tell anybody about your true lineage. I totally get why Jon would feel like, no, I have to tell my family. Like, I get it. Jon is a character who is built on the truth. He's built on his principles. He's built around honor. Like, his whole life has revolved around trying to be as good a man as Ned Stark. I understand how difficult it must be to keep a secret like this from the people that he loves the most, his family. They've been there from day one. At the same time, you gotta know time and situation, and you gotta know the people that you're talking to. If I were Jon, I would have told Arya. Like, I would have pulled Arya aside, and I would have told her the truth. Because I can trust Arya, because Arya is loyal to a fault. You can trust Arya will keep her word. Arya is the type of person that can keep a secret. She doesn't have any skin in this game. She's really just in this to kill Cersei. But Sansa, bro, you cannot tell Sansa. You know how Sansa feels. You know how she feels about Dany. You can't let that shit happen, bro. This just goes to show you that Ned Stark was like the best ever at keeping secrets. If you're Jon, you have to pick and choose your battles. You have to be like, okay, maybe I'll tell Arya and then I'll wait. And then after Dany takes King's Landing and the Iron Throne, then maybe I'll let Sansa know. And then maybe she'll be mad at me. But at that point, what else can she do? Now all of a sudden she has to tell Tyrion, and then Tyrion has to tell Varys. And now all of a sudden there's all these other wheels that are spinning in motion. I don't really have an issue with Jon saying anything. It's just about who he told and when he told it. Like, tell Arya. If you notice that scene, he tells Arya, he's like, hey, swear that you won't tell nobody. Arya's like, oh, yeah, I swear. Absolutely, I swear. No problem, bro. I will never tell anybody. You have my word. And then he's like, Sansa, and then Sansa's like, I mean, yeah, sure, I swear. I guess. I mean, you know, we'll see what it is. But yeah, sure. I swear. This is the tough stuff. Like, this is the tough stuff. Tyrion tries to appeal to Cersei. Cersei sits there with that evil bitch grin on her face. Missandei dies. Her head is cut off and she's thrown off of King's Landing and she dies. Just, I know what this is. I know that this is leading towards Dany becoming Mad Queen. It hurt me a lot. It broke my heart what happened to Missandei. I'm sure it hurts Grey Worm as well. You can see the look on his face, like he couldn't even look at the shit. I would not be surprised if next week Grey Worm tried to attack King's Landing all by his damn self. Like, watch. He probably would do it. Also, shout out to my boy Ghost. Since Jon isn't gonna do it, the one part of the episode that actually pissed me off, I think, the most is the fact that Jon just leaves Ghost with Tormund and says, hey, take him to the north. He'll be better off with you. Like, okay, I can understand that, but bro, how are you not gonna at least hug Ghost, pat him on the head, say thank you for everything? Nothing? You're just gonna ditch him? Like, you just nodded at him and left? Goddamn, Gilly got a hug from you. What the fuck, bro? You're not gonna do the same to Ghost? Ghost has been your day one. Ghost has been there from the beginning. He has saved your life. He saved Sam's life. I'm just saying, how the fuck you gonna disrespect Ghost like this? It's not right, man. It's just not right. But that's just my take on it. What you thought about the episode in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. And if you like what you see, tell me how you feel and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.